So the concept for this web tool essentially came from a conversation that we had as part of the Presidential Business Working Group, where we looked at the challenges in terms of how do small businesses effectively comply with the labour legislation, but also deal with all the complexities of having to deal with people in the workplace and manage their staff more effectively. And what we recognized was that small businesses really do have a much bigger challenge than a larger business in terms of how to apply the labour laws. And they have difficulty in terms of reading across the different laws. They have difficulty in terms of understanding the law, even though it's written in quite a simple language that is meant to be accessible. But what they don't have is the time to go through all the laws and to look at how the cross-referencing works and be able to implement it effectively. So what we agreed between government and business was that it would be really useful to have a tool that essentially brought that all together and provided that information practically for small businesses. And one of the examples that we'd seen, which was a really useful example, was in ACAS, which is a similar organization to the CCMA in the United Kingdom, where they had done a version of this, but it had been done without the private sector, and we thought if we did it together with our institution, the CCMA, that's in charge of these type of areas, that it would be far more effective, because we would then be able to get both the labour requirements together with the small business realities and bring those two together. So that was essentially the basis of the collaboration. And what we started to do was that we engaged with the CCMA as BUSA, and we started to have a series of conversations, and essentially that's where the concept came from. So that started our collaboration, and we put together a project team. We spent a lot of time trying to get funding, because there is a financial requirement in terms of the material development, and also trying to focus where employers really needed assistance in terms of the tool. So what we did is we started with a survey of the users. We went to small businesses, both within the BUSA membership, but the CCMA also circulated the survey amongst their small business users, and we looked at what were the key issues that would help small businesses in terms of giving labour advice, and that's how we identified the priority areas. And then what we did is we put together a team that consisted of both people from business who had small business insight, as well as the CCMA, and they developed material. And that was a really intensive process, because the material that was developed included step-by-step guides, it included things like draft contracts, explanations on the law, and a whole lot of resource tools that would assist small businesses in understanding, but also how-to tools in terms of how to implement the laws in a very, very practical way. So after the material development, we then went into the web design support phase, and the web was developed and designed in a way where we think that it is most accessible for small business users. But what we did then is that we actually went back and we did another survey with the users to make sure that actually the things that they were looking for on the site were actually being easy to find and were being implemented. That resulted in some further adjustments, and the tool is now at a stage where it is going to be launched. So into the future, what we're looking at doing is obviously enhancing the tool. We're going to make sure that this tool is being effectively utilized, so we're going to continue to monitor how it's being received, whether the language that we're using in the tool is accessible. We're going to be updating it obviously in terms of legislative developments, but the other thing that we're going to be exploring is how to do enhancements in terms of the areas that are covered. So one of the areas that employers have told us is really, really important to them is how to implement productivity improvements and how to actually improve workplace relationships within the workplace. So those are two areas that immediately we can already see we're going to need to be adding some more content on. But the beauty of this tool is that it's a web platform, and as we identify new needs, we will be able to enhance it over time. So I think really our intention is to provide a very, very easy mechanism for small businesses to go online. It's free of charge. They can access not only the information, but they can access step-by-step guides and templates and contracts and documents, and they can actually get the information they need without having to pay expensive providers or to find consultants to do that work for them, and actually just be able to comply in the most effective and speedy way possible. So what the small business can do is they can literally go online onto the website. They can choose, first of all, there's 3 sections to the tool. One is how to recruit, and that includes how to do a job spec, how to do an advert for the job, or how to actually invite applications, and how to narrow down the candidates that one wants to select, and then how to appoint. So that's the one section of the tool, and it literally guides you as a small business both through the process, but it also gives you the information that you need in a very simple and clear way in terms of making sure that you can do that process for yourself. So that's one part of the tool. The second part is how do you manage people within employment, and how do you communicate with people, and how do you engage. And it looks at employee relations challenges that employers commonly deal with. So be it issues of misconduct, or issues of performance, or incapacity, or even restructuring. And it gives the employer a step-by-step guide on how to do it. It gives the forms that the employer needs to use, and all of that is available in that section of the tool. And then the last section deals with termination of employment, and that includes both dismissals, but also resignations, and just the end of the employment relationship. And there too, it gives step-by-step guides, it gives one the process flow, the legal requirements, and it gives the employer guidance essentially on how to give effect to those processes so that you have greater fairness both towards the employee, but in a way that the small business can actually implement it in the most effective and compliant way. So essentially the 3 parts of the tool come together in that way. What the tool really does is that it brings together labor compliance as well as what small business needs to be able to do that in a very effective way. What it does is it creates free access to this tool. It's practical, it is accessible, and it really does enable a small business to be more efficient in terms of its processes, but I think it also enables it to really get on with the business of doing business. And that's what we want our small businesses to do. We want them to be able to focus on growing their businesses in a compliant way, to expand, to be part of a productive economy, and to employ more people. So the website is live. It can be accessed under smeLabourSupport.org.za, and you can go in as a small business and you can look at what you need to do. You can download the forms and you are ready to go.